What's up, guys? Welcome to my channel. Today I have a 2015 Honda Accord. If you have a 2013 to 2017, you're gonna look at the similar procedure on these front brake pads and rotors. Okay, these brakes are making the car shake every time the customer presses the brake pedal on high speed. The car shakes, and that's due to this little wear and tear on the disc right here. This is called a warped rotor. These are like almost in other words, they're bent. Okay, so every time you press the brakes on high speed, the pedal has a pulsation and the car starts to shake. And what we're gonna do today is we're gonna replace the disc and the pads. So if you have a Honda Accord, you need to do front brake pads and rotors. So I'm gonna tell you exactly how to do it, and I'm gonna show you the tools, greasing, part number, and the torque specs on the 14mm bolt down here, and the 17 for the bracket down here, and another one back over here. All right, we're not gonna be removing this top bolt because we can slide it off. Anyways, you're gonna need some greasing. You're gonna need this is the grease I'm gonna be using. The part number is right there. It's 05353. I have a silicone grease here. I love using this guy right here. There's a part number for this. All right, you're gonna need a ratchet. This is a 3/8 with 14mm. Another wrench here. This is a 19mm. This might come handy because sometimes this pin sliding pin turns, so you might have to hold it with this while you tighten the other end. All right, get a Phillips head screwdriver to turn this bolt. This one has been recently changed not too long ago, so they're pretty much like not so tight. But also get a hammer just in case this don't come out. If you have a punch, that'd be a better idea, but that one's loose. A flathead screwdriver. Let me show you the parts that I'm gonna be using. These are not cheap parts, okay? These are pretty good and decent price on it. Evolutions. There's a part number right there. All right, I already did one side, and you see this is the pads I'm left with. There's a brake wear indicator sensor here. It has a hardware kit, and then we do have a disc over here, sitting over here. That's the one I took out of that box. So let me give you the opposite side. This is the part number. These are electric coated discs, okay? They're pretty good. They're rust free, okay? So I would recommend you get these and use these, but you do need to clean these, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean these first so this is ready and it can dry up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this brake cleaner and we're gonna simply spray this down really good, and we're gonna wipe this off with a clean cloth rag. Best way to clean these is if you take a bubble soapy water, warm water. That's the best way to clean discs if you don't have this spray. And this is very important because your brakes are not gonna work. It's gonna slip because this thing has greasing on it, some kind of oil to prevent rust on the surface where the pad is gonna ride here. So this is clean. I'm gonna let it sit here for a while, and meanwhile we'll work on the car. All right, guys, so to begin with, what we're gonna do is if you leave your key in the ignition or put it to accessory, you should be able to turn this little guy. Okay, you're also gonna need a 17mm with the impact gun or a heavy duty ratchet for the bolts in the back. I forgot about that. All right, so do get a 17mm. So let's take this bolt off right here, and I am gonna give you torque spec on all of these as we go along. This guy comes right off. Bada bing, bada boom. After that, you could use a flathead screwdriver if your disc, your caliper doesn't come out. Remove this, and what I like to do is pop this boot open, slide this pin out of here, and the next step is let's take off these brake pads. Okay, notice the brake pad has a brake wear indicator sensor up on the top on the inside brake pad, so we're gonna put it back in the same spot. All right, so we got that. Next step, we're gonna remove this caliper here. The bracket for the caliper. So it has two 17mm in the back. That's why you need a 17mm, which I forgot to tell you about. All right, next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take off both of these bolts. I like to take one off, put your hand, loosen it up. It fell down, it's all right. Next step, let's take this completely off. While this is in our hand, we're gonna take off the hardware kit, just like that. One comes off, and another one comes off. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take off the disc next. We're gonna put this to the side for now. All right, so next we're gonna take off this little guy right here. If this doesn't come out, you just tap it in the back, bring it across right here. The screw has to be right there, and you can hit it in the back. It will loosen up. That's a trick I'm giving you right there. You don't need no punch, and it should come out as easy as this. And once you take this off, my disc already moving because, like I said, these brakes was done not too long ago. The disc just went bad. And if this disc doesn't come out, you're gonna tap it in the back, and it should come right off. And once that's off, you want to inspect the hub over here. This hub still has greasing on it. So what I'm gonna do is, if you have a wire brush, just clean this off. And but mine looks so clean, it still has grease. What I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna clean that off a little bit. So let's clean this off. What you're gonna do is, if you have a wire brush, just brush it all over here. You don't want no dirt, debris, rust, because that will make your rotor sit crooked. So this is nice and clean. At the same time, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean this pin right here, and I'm gonna clean around the boot area where this caliper is, the piston is. So just clean around it really good. You might not get it all of it to be perfect, but that's what I like to do. So the next step is, let's take our greasing, put a little bit all around here, and just smudge it all around. Bada bing, bada boom. You don't want to put too much either. That's just perfect amount right there. So next, we already cleaned our disc. I'm gonna go get the disc. All right, next step, we're gonna take our disc, but you do need to line your disc to one of the holes, whichever you want to select. This is the one that was used earlier. So we just turn and bring it to that position right there. So this is the one that's going to be good right there. That's the one that's going to line, and they both should line up after that. Anyways, let's take our screw here and let's put this in, and just hand tighten it. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, so let's prep our bracket next, and we're going to compress the piston. Okay, so what we're gonna do next is we're gonna clean our bracket here. What I like to do, I like to use a file. You could use a wire brush, because usually a lot of rust will build up down here, and that would make your pad sit in there hard, okay? And meaning they're not gonna move around like they're supposed to freely. Do that to both sides, and that's it. That's how simple it is. All right, so that's done. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna get the hardware kit. All right, guys, next step is very important. You install this hardware kit properly. All right, meaning it shouldn't touch the disc once it sits in there. Other than that, you will have a noise. So what you're gonna do is make sure you first of all try to center it as much as you can. And this thing sits pretty good. A lot of people like to put lube. I do not put too much of a lube. If you want, you can put lube here a little bit and then smack on the hardware, okay? So this fits good. Let's take this back out. Let's take a little bit of lube and a little bit of lube. And that's what that's gonna do, is it's gonna prevent noises, all kinds of crazy stuff. All right, so that's that. So same thing on the second one. Little bit of lube. And you take this little guy and you stick on the hardware. Perfect. Make sure it's centered. All right, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull out this pin and we're gonna grease this pin right here. Make sure you put it back in the same spot, okay, because this one that does have the little rubber boot on it. So let me get my rag and we're gonna clean this off. Alright, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some of this silicone grease I showed you in the beginning. We're gonna put a little bit here. Just don't go crazy with the grease, because too much grease is no good either, because it will lock things up. It will expand and extract, and that will cause trouble. Alright, so especially in the tip, do not put too much in the tip. I usually don't even put anything on the tip, because the tip what messes everything up. So your pins should be free like that. All right, let's put that to the side. You know what? Let's put this bracket on right now. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna grab your 2 bolts, the 17 millimeters. Get them as much as you can in there. And we're gonna torque these. So let me get my torque wrench and I'm gonna give you the torque spec. Alright guys, got my torque wrench here with 17 millimeter set to 76.6 foot-pound. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna bring my camera back a little bit so I have enough clearance here, and let's tighten one up. There you go. That's 76.6. Let's do the bottom one. Well, camera's moving too much. There you go. So this is done, and we're gonna move on further. All right, another one of the tools you're gonna need is compress tool. C-clamp or compress tool such as this would work. You take your older brake pad, put it between the piston, and we're gonna compress this piston back. And it should go in nice and smooth, okay? Real nice and smooth. There you go, perfect. That's done deal. All right, make sure your piston is nice and clean, because even that would cause warped rotors to go bad, and in the beginning it might just start to shake. So next step, we're gonna put in the brake pads, but make sure your hardware is not touching anywhere in the edges here. It's not touching the disc, and you should give it a spin. Nothing is rubbing on the sliding pins, on the hardware kit. You're good. So next, we're gonna take our brake pad and stick the brake pads in. They just go into the same spot you took off, and they slide right in. All right, notice my brake pads, very easy to go in and out. If your brake pads are giving you a hard time going in, either you didn't change the hardware kit, or there's a rust buildup, there's not enough clearance, or you have a brake pads that are causing trouble, you could file them down a little bit. But if you buy good brake pads, you shouldn't have to go through all that. Sometimes I get brake pad, I just grind the paint off with a file, and it works out really good. And there you go, perfect. All right, next step, you take some greasing, put it on the back brake pad. That's the dark color grease I'm using here. Put it on the both of the brake pads. Notice I did not put any grease on the hardware where the pad sits, because that picks up a lot of dust, and I hate when there's a lot of dust build up. That will restrict the pad also. Let's take a little bit of more silicone grease here. Let's put it right here, and that's done. And what you're gonna do is make sure your line here is nice and straight. I've seen lines have like a twist to it, and that causes a restriction of the fluid, and your pad will become soft. So this line is nice and good, perfect. All right, so the final touch, we got our bolt here, 14 millimeter, and we're gonna torque this as well. So let me just snug this and then get my tool and the torque spec ready for you guys. All right, boys and girls, so we're almost done. This is a bada bing, bada boom job. And my torque wrench is ready. It's 28 foot-pound. So what you're gonna do is, this is most likely is gonna spin if you get lucky, good, but this is a 19 millimeter, you can hold it. And the 14 millimeter right there is gonna do the job for us. And there you go, 28 foot-pound, and we're done. All right, make sure your booty's on. Thank you for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace out. All right, let me sum up the tools. So we got greasing, we got a Phillip head, we got a 3/8 ratchet with a 14 millimeter, we got a 19 millimeter wrench, we got a torque wrench, we got a file, we got a flathead screwdriver, and a compressed tool, and a 17 millimeter with the impact gun, or you could use a regular long wrench. And that's it. That's everything you're gonna need.